All right, good evening. Welcome back to the Richland School Board meeting. I'd like to ask you all to please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, good evening again. We have two people gone right now. Jill Olson is excused tonight. Katrina, I think, might be online. She is there? Yes. So just testing. Katrina, are you able to talk and can you hear us?
I can hear you.
We can hear you. It's working.
Great.
Yes, I think so too. Okay, so there we are. We are starting with recognition and BJ is going to do this introduction, but this is really exciting and let BJ do the introductions here.
All right, yeah, we are excited. Thanks for having me. Tonight we recognize the athletes, coaches, families, and support systems behind two incredible state championships at Richland High School, our boys basketball team and individual girls wrestling. So at this time, I'd like to introduce the coaches who will share a few reflections on the season and introduce the outstanding student athletes. So first, please help me welcome Samantha Defoe, assistant coach for our girls wrestling program, whose leadership and dedication helped support a historic season, including Richland's first ever individual girls wrestling state champion, who you'll meet soon. Also, I'd like to welcome Earl Streifert, head coach, and Bruce Robertson, assistant coach for our Richland High School boys basketball team, who led the Bombers to an undefeated 28-0 season and the 4A state championship. Side note, Earl has also been recognized by both the league and the state this year as Coach of the Year. So pretty outstanding. So please help me welcome them to share more.
You could go first.
All right. Just first and foremost, just want to thank you all for having us here. We really appreciate the opportunity to honor and recognize our athletes, because there's nothing easy about being a student athlete. And so these kids are showing up, and every single day they're deciding to step into an environment that is difficult and in a different situation than other students. John can't be here tonight. He is the head coach for the girls team. And I just want to give him a little shout out, because this team and this program wouldn't be where it is today without him. He has sacrificed and done so much for this team, the girls especially, leading our very own Savannah Thorpe to a state title. Savannah is one of the most special girls I've ever met. 4 years in the making, we've worked on this journey, and she's just one of the most selfless, heartfelt individuals. She will sacrifice her own for the people around her. She has been a team captain for the last 3 years. She stepped into that role her sophomore year, and she, without a doubt, was going to be destined for greatness. She is so talented, and it's just been such an honor to watch her grow as an individual, not just as an athlete, but as a person off the mat. She is so loving and caring, and has one of the best grade point averages on the team as well, while she's doing running start at CBC. So there's no small feat to that. She's been on a long journey, and this season, it's really special to me. She trained with my sister for the last 3 years, and coming into this year was her first year without my sister. And they were best friends. They were training partners. They are the reason that each other were so successful. We always said iron sharpens iron, and it was a beautiful thing to see. So we had a little question mark on this season and how it would look for her, and especially her mindset of not having that person next to her that was walking through the same journey as her. And she handled it so eloquently. She stepped up more as a leader, and she led by example. And my sister came in and still trained with her when she had the time. And I think that was huge, and it helped her along this journey. But Savannah, she did this all on her own. We were there to support her and to help her along on this journey, but she worked so hard on and off the mat. And all summer she went to camps, she traveled, she trained, she competed in the off season, and it got her to where she was. And us coaches, and I know that her family and her teammates are exponentially proud of her. And I know that moving forward, the lessons that she's learned from this sport will carry on into her future. And she is just destined for even more greatness. This is not the height of her achievements. So I just want to end out by saying thank you again for having us. And I want to introduce Savannah Thorpe.
Thank you guys for having me. So that I appreciate that. I also want to say thank you to my mom for being here and these two lovely ladies. So in the green is Amelia Ennis and in the black is Julie Ayat. And I think a team is really important, having friends within a team. And these girls have been so supportive this whole journey. And wrestling is sure an individual sport, but it was 100% as a team sport at the end of the day. And these girls have been super duper supportive in my wrestling journey. And I just really appreciate them. And I know they've got great things ahead of them. I want to thank Coach Samantha. Obviously, you can tell she is such an amazing coach. So I just appreciate her so much. And then most of all, I just wanted to thank my Lord Jesus Christ, because I would not be able to have this opportunity without him. And wrestling is tough, but he has unwavering love. And I know that no matter the trials, no matter what, that I can find peace in him. So I want to lift him up and glorify him in everything I do. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Come on up here, fellas. It's the second time we've had to follow Savannah at something like this. Boys, you introduce yourselves to the board. This is only a portion of our team. We have a lot of multi-sport guys playing baseball today at church and a number of things, but these guys introduce themselves so you know who I'm talking about.
I'm Lance Hornbat. I'm a senior.
Kaden Mitchell.
Landon Northup. I'm a senior.
Justin Volmer, sophomore.
Riker Harris, junior.
You guys can stand right over here with me, so I'm not going to use the mic. So I came here 27 years ago, and I told the guys at the first practice in the gym with Coach Castleberry and Coach Neal and Coach Tieferbaugh on the wall. I said, I was talking to the players, first time I was ever in a group with them, and I got all these Hall of Fame legendary guys behind me. And I tell those guys, I said, I know I'm from Walla Walla. And,
Mr. Streifert, coach, the sound guys they would love you to use a microphone.
Mercy. I got a Johnny Venture in the Starlight Lounge mic that I can carry around.
There you go. You can hold it.
Oh, wonderful. So anyway, so I told those guys that I was from Walla Walla and it was a hard thing for them to take. And I said, but we got a ring in Walla Walla in '99, and I just wanted a ring that was green. Took 27 years to get that ring. But when I look back over all of that time and all the things that happened to put us in a situation to win, we played in 2 other title games and it didn't work out. We won some really amazing games and we lost some heartbreakers. These guys included, especially last year. And these guys really, as a group, committed to being better. There were some harsh criticisms at times last year. Yeah, you don't have to elaborate on that. But, we had to be better. And we had to be a little tougher and all those things. As a squad, these guys were a joy to coach, joy to travel with. We went to Arizona and Utah, and we played lots of good teams. And we had, good wins and tough losses on the road there too. But everywhere we went, these guys represented our community like no other. Super polite to all the staff we interacted with. We walk into the state tournament, people are happy to see us again because they know how they're going to be treated. And in the whole scheme of things for us, that's really the most important thing. Yep, being called champ is pretty good, right? I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. But just being great people and doing the right thing every day and, sticking it out until it pays off. And I think these guys were just wonderful representatives of our community all year long. And based on the emails that I've gotten from fans and former players and coaches, winning a state title, a basketball title is just a great community event, and people are super excited about it. And Coach Robertson's saving his words for tomorrow night at the community event, I know. So 12 to 15 minutes tomorrow he's going to be putting on. So again, just thank the board and the school district for being patient with me over 27 years and giving me an opportunity to work with such great guys like these, and all the other players just aren't here today. So thank you very much.
Congratulations.
Before you guys run away, do you guys have any questions for players, coaches?
I want to say congratulations. I had first a wrestling question. I know a couple of women that have wrestled through our school district and then went on to wrestle a little bit at college. What are your plans after this year?
After this year, I have been talking to a college and kind of thinking about that. But my stepdad, he's actually a firefighter and here in Richland, and it meant a lot to me to follow after his footsteps. So I'm thinking of going in that way and maybe even eventually becoming a paramedic. But everything's up in the air. You know, there are a lot of different paths I can take. So I'm just kind of seeing where I can go and dabbling in everything and seeing what fits me most.
Right.
Awesome. And then for the basketball team, I thought it was really fun watching friends of mine who've been out of school for a long time, longer than me, that had gone to Richland High School, and how much joy they took in watching your journey through the season. You know, they'd post every game day on social media about the games. They were all in the Tacoma Dome. They were all watching you. And I thought it was a really cool community event, like you said. You know, a lot of people really got into it. I've been following the baseball game today, so I know that you guys have teammates that aren't here tonight. And just before the meeting started, Richland and Hanford were tied 1-1 late in the game, going into the sixth inning. So sports are fun. It's a good part of our education system, in my belief, anyway.
Mhm.
Anything?
Congrats.
Yeah, I want to thank you for coming here tonight too. School board meetings are not the most exciting, but it's exciting when you all show up. This is the best part of the meeting, and thank you for coming. And congratulations again. The other part of this is you don't have to stay. You're not going to offend us if you decide to leave right after this.
Rick, can I just say one quick thing?
Yes,
before you
Dr.
leave?
Redinger.
So I have enjoyed watching the playing and the matching and how well you did in wrestling. Really was exciting. When I was superintendent of Spokane, Gonzaga Prep was like our nemesis. And so I was so happy when you guys beat them. So I just wanted, yes, thank you, Rich. And just great job to all of you. And Landon, I don't know if that exchange was up here, but just know I have really seen you grow and develop as a basketball player, and just your 3 points are just awesome to watch. So just congrats to all of you.
All right. Thank you again. Mm-hmm.
Kayla, you can be the second most exciting part of the night.
I just read a paper.
Hi, Kayla. Welcome.
All right. All right. The Parent Guardian Advisory Committee met on March 16th at 6 p.m. in person, as well as via Microsoft Teams. The topic discussed was Chromebook and internet safety in the classroom. A survey was sent out to the parents and guardians in the district, and we had 45 responses. There were varying opinions among those in attendance whether there should be more or less screen time and Chromebook access at school, with the vast majority supporting less. The general consensus for all, and the word of the evening, was balance. Parents acknowledged several positive steps the district has taken to reduce excessive technology use. Parents expressed gratitude for the year's new phone policy at the schools, as well as gratitude for the adjusted evening hours on the Chromebooks while at home. A positive report came from the Enterprise Middle School that when students no longer had phones at lunch, suddenly the cafeteria was much noisier in a very good way. We discussed the challenges of students intentionally vandalizing Chromebooks at some schools. Parents referenced recent studies suggesting that Gen Z is the first generation to underperform compared to previous generations, coinciding with increased classroom technology use. It was noted that teens average approximately 8 hours and 39 minutes of daily screen time. We debated whether it is more important for students to be prepared for their workforce by knowing how to use technology, or whether it is more important for students to be more prepared for the workforce's other skill sets, for example, social and emotional preparation, team building, etc., with claims that kids are being disabled by the large amounts of screen time. The majority of parents agreed that they would rather their children learn the latter skills in preparation for the workforce. Some concerns of the parents regarding this topic are as follows. There were concerns regarding the Custodio app. A parent expressed that it is very helpful using Custodio in the home and for being able to put up parental controls and track what their child is doing. However, another parent shared it is challenging to use it to get a picture of what is happening in the classroom. Parents cannot block anything during school hours or see much of what websites their children are on or for how long, as it only shows 15-minute increments. Another parent was having trouble getting daily updates from Custodio. Alternatively, a parent shared how beneficial it has been to not monitor his son's screen time at all and let him explore and develop his own knowledge and experiences. We talked at length about how better apps are available with even more control, but they are more expensive. One parent shared how their student can easily hack the system, but with better controls, it would make that much harder for the student to do so. We would just have to pay for it. Another concern we discussed was how many parents feel that sending Chromebooks home is overriding their parental voice in their own homes. They want autonomy, and many feel that having homework on Chromebooks is overstepping some families' values of not having their child have a personal device at home. It was brought to our attention that parents do not have control of Chromebooks during the school day hours on holidays, such as spring break, Christmas break, etc. So when they're at their house, they can't turn it off the way they can in the after hours. Students, specifically middle school and up, appear to have their Chromebooks on almost the entire day in some instances. There were many concerns about artificial intelligence use in the classroom. A parent shared concerns that teachers were grading their students' work using AI. A child reported to their parents that kids are cheating with AI by pulling up different tabs in their Chromebooks while testing online. It was expressed that critical thinking skills are in jeopardy with allowing students to use AI in the classroom. Reports were shared of teachers' frustration in having to police elementary school kids while they are supposed to be doing iReady or other tests, and they are opening other tabs to play games or are rushing through their testing just so that they can play internet games. One parent stated that until we take away the technology as a reward, the technology will continue to be a problem and a challenge. And lastly, with all the screen time, our children cannot type. We have 7 parent recommendations for the school board. The first is to promote Custodio to parents more and consider adopting a more advanced parental control app that provides additional transparency during school hours for parents and that better locks out student hacking. Number 2, switch to parent control of hours on Custodio during holidays. Number 3, investigate and adopt courses for teachers that provide training on how and when to appropriately use Chromebooks in the classroom and when to not. Number 4 was to discontinue distributing 1-to-1 Chromebooks for elementary age students. Number 5, instead of distributing Chromebooks to each student in middle school and secondary, consider having students check out Chromebooks in each classroom to minimize students claiming district devices as personal devices and downloading extra games, apps, and content onto them as if they were their own personal device. Number 6, reintroduce dedicated computer courses covering typing, internet safety, digital etiquette, and appropriate technology use. And number 7, create an AI literacy class that is also separate. Parents are asking that AI not be allowed in other classes besides the AI literacy class. Questions from the parents. I think we just have 3. How much does Custodio cost the district, and what percentage of parents are signed up with a Custodio account? The second was, has the removal of Chromebooks in other districts shown positive or negative outcomes? I would say academic outcomes. And then number 3, since we began assigning students personal computers in our district, have we seen improvements or decline in the students' educational outcomes? Our next meeting will be on April 20th from 6 to 8 p.m. And this meeting will be held in person and through Microsoft Teams, and we will be discussing alternative learning environments. Thank you so much.
All right, thanks. Good questions. I think we don't check out Chromebooks to elementary students now. Is that right?
We're going to have an update. No, we don't, but we'll have an
so.
update today as well. But no.
A lot of those, and there are answers to those questions in the packet today. So it's good timing.
Do we still have computer lab for elementary?
I don't think so.
I don't know. We can ask when the update shows up. Thank you for that. Any questions from the board? Comments?
I had a little bit of a challenge learning how to use Custodio, but now that I know how to use it, I really like it. So I think some of it is just a learning curve for older people.
Students are just smiling at us.
I think it was a great lead in to the later
Yeah.
agenda item here, and I think I'd just wait until the end to.
All right, sounds good. I think we have no one signed up in the back. Is that right? All right, and there's no one up online still signed up?
I do not have anyone signed up.
Okay, thanks. I had a big, long speech all ready to go.
Skip it.
I'm skipping it. We are to board student rep and superintendent report. Dr. Redinger, would you please start?
Sure. I have a few things. Bonnie, I'll let you talk about tomorrow.
Okay.
For the pep
Sure.
rally.
I sure will.
So a couple things, we've been continuing to do our RISE awards, and those continue to be really fun to go out and recognize staffs when they're or staff members when they're not expecting it. So they've been fun surprises. I would say today was probably one of the most involved. The entire ELC building was involved. So they had all the little preschoolers lining each sides of the hallway, and the staff members, which is their assessment team, thought that Julie was kind of playing a trick on them, and their principal, and said that there were going to be staffing changes. So they kind of were coming in kind of hot, like what's happening? and then the surprise, and all the kids were cheering, and it was really, really fun. So we recognize the incredible team of professionals who make sure our youngest learners get the support they need to grow, learn, and succeed. So we recognize the school psychologist at ELC, Katrina Roberts, the speech language pathology team, which is Christina Bailey, Kim Cassis, Julie Ryan, and Rose Ellen Fobb, our occupational and physical therapy team, Molly Nutt, Carol Woodvine, and Darlene Weger, and then the family coordinator, Monica Ray. So that whole team does an amazing job of preparing some of our most vulnerable learners to be successful for kindergarten. So a big shout out to our ELC. And the other one that we recognized was Yesel Maldonado and Caroline Whitman for their dual language program at Taft Hill, and all the hard work in terms of getting that going and keeping that growing every year. And their leadership has helped build and sustain the program from the ground up. In their classrooms, instruction is intentional and student-centered. Content and language objectives are clearly visible. Bilingual instruction is thoughtfully prepared, and students are supported as they bridge between languages to deepen their learning. And then we also highlighted Carrie LeBrier, who helps as the instructional coach there and helps really support the dual language program. So just a big shout out to our RISE award winners. And again, then we thank GISA for helping sponsor the pins for that very special award. So that's all I have today.
All right, thank you. All right, news from the students. Who's going first tonight?
I'll go.
Right.
Over the past few weeks, a lot of Hanford sports have visited elementary schools to read books to their preschoolers to fifth graders, and it's been really fun and cute. And then Hanford Jazz also recently just won first at our Mead Festival, which is apparently the first time since early 2000s, I believe.
Right.
And then Hanford and Richland Jazz are both, Hanford and Richland Dance are both going to state this week, maybe.
It is this weekend.
Okay,
Yes.
yeah. And then Hanford Thespians also won first, and it's a lip sync competition at their state competition, basically. And then also recently, last week, or the beginning of this week, I met with Mr. Christensen and Mr. Whitcomb, and we talked a little bit about the new Chromebook restrictions, and then we also learned a little bit more about some other alternatives to your Gmail and how get access to that through your school account or school emails.
And then we're working on publicizing some of that information just so students are very aware of all the changes that happened and anything that can be done to make sure that the restrictions aren't restricting learning. And then there's also a jazz concert at Richland next Tuesday. And then actually right now there's an orchestra concert at Richland, so I hope to see all of you guys there. And then on Thursday, there's a U.S. Army visit at Richland. And in a few weeks, Richland's going to the Salmon Summit. So, yeah.
All right. Thanks, Bonnie.
Let's see. I guess I'll just talk tomorrow. Wednesday is the pep rally that Dr. Redinger was talking about. There is a big community event at Richland High School in the gym. Anyone can come. The doors open at 5:30. They're going to have popcorn and drinks and a whole lot of fun stuff. The band's going to be there. The dance team's going to be there. The cheerleaders are going to be there. Everyone's going to be there. They're going to let the kids all line up and do the high fives like they do at the beginning of games to celebrate the basketball team and Savannah, who were just here. But they're going to have an event there for the whole community to come to. And there's a whole lot of hoopla. It's at 7:00. The doors open at 5:30. It will be over before 8:00.
All right.
There's a very tight script.
All right. Good. Dan?
Yeah, I want to give a big thank you to the staff at Libby Middle School for the board tour from last week. It was a real nice morning we spent there. I will say I got 2 different computer labs that I did go into. The questions there, but about whether we have them. I know we have them at the middle schools. I don't know about the elementary schools, but we definitely have them at the middle school. And I did see at least 2 people that were doing typing or keyboarding exercises as part of their daily entry task. So there's still some of that being taught there, but it was definitely at the middle school there. So anyway, thank you to everybody that was involved with that, and the broadcasting students who toured me around. So.
All right, very good. Katrina, do you have anything?
I don't have any update.
All right, very good. And the legislative session ended. I was asked what I thought about it. And, we're a school district, so we give grades. I would give the legislature an F for their efforts this year. They have a constitutional mandate to fully fund education, basic education in our state, and they are not meeting their constitutional obligations. They have the funds to do it. It's just not their priority right now. So as we go through our budget discussions, we're going to be talking about using local funds to support special education, transportation, and other things that the state should have been funding. So if you want to know how they did, they got an F this year. Let's hope they do better next year. They should be on some kind of remediation plan. I think that's probably enough for me right now. We're going to move into we'll move into performance audit updates. Dr. Redinger.
Yes, I just have a couple of announcements, and once we get the report back, I will share it out. But we are getting ready to schedule our indoor air quality required inspections with Britton Franklin Health District for this year at all the elementary schools. So I look forward to sharing that report. I know that Brad and his team are very proactive about our air quality for staff and students. And so I look forward to getting those reports. And then also we just had our OSHA required report. That's our occupational safety and health reporting of all recordable workplace injuries. And so we just reported all of those, and our recordable claims had a slight decrease. So that's good. It's going in the right direction. We had 69 last year and 63 this year. This is when we report at this time. And so I'll be working with Kelly on, what is a good target? Because I know those numbers by themselves don't really tell us how we compare to other school districts like size. So I'll get Kalupi back with more information, but the good news is it is going down. And a lot of that I know is we have quite a few trainings that all staff must take about how to lift. They're not standing on chairs, paying attention when something's slippery. And so hopefully that all is helping as well. Our special education teams have been undergoing new training called MANT. And I'm hoping as well that has been really helping with our injuries to staff and students in the special education department. So more to come on those two reports.
Is it possible to get copies of those of the
Sure.
OSHA recordables
Yeah,
to
sure.
the board members?
Yeah. It'd be
Actually
good
know how to
hear.
read those.
Okay. Yes, that's what you do, I think, right? For
Part of it. Yeah. Thanks.
Yes.
Any other questions, comments?
Nope.
All right. We are to bond refunding presentation. Hey.
I am here to Are we? Yeah, I'm here to introduce Corey Plager from DA Davison. Most of Dan, were you here when he presented in the summer? You were not. No. So last year when we were talking about our levy conversation, Corey came and helped us along with that. And in that time, he had mentioned potential bond refunding. And now that the levy is over, we're entertaining these options. We didn't want to add some confusion with levy bond conversations when we're going through a vote here. And so now we're trying to see what we can do to help save taxpayers some money on our bonds. And Corey's going to do most of the presentation from here, actually all. But
all right, thanks.
Thank you, Travis. Corey Plager, DA Davidson. I work out of the Spokane office, and we've been supporting the district for decades. I've been in this role since 2018, supporting Richland. Grateful to be back. What I'd love to do is set the stage. Let me see if I get the slide working. Set the stage, a real brief introduction. What is a bond? I have some estimates on what the savings might look like today. Interest rates are a little volatile right now. I'll talk about that briefly as well. And then talk about the next steps. Please let me know if you have questions as we go. This slide is a very quick summary for those in the room that might not have on the tip of their tongues what the bonds do for municipal entities like school districts. This is the primary method for improvements to infrastructure. If you've seen a new library, a new park, a new city hall, almost all of these methods of financing are done through voter approved measures. Some on occasion are done through federal or state grants. But for the most part, when an entity needs to do some sort of improvement, they're done through unlimited tax general obligation bonds. There's a couple limits here. You can't ask for whatever you want. You have a debt capacity based on your size of your tax base. The good thing is most bonds for schools are tax exempt, so you do not borrow at the same rate that people are doing now for cars or for home loans. As a municipal entity, you get tax exempt rates. And the differences between the capital levy and the bond are you receive the bond proceeds up front, then taxes pay back principal and interest over time. A capital levy comes in and you get to use it as they're paid by taxpayers. So a few differences. One other major difference on a bond is it is approved by a 60% yes vote. And your last three bonds since the turn of the century and since 2000 have all had favorable yes percentages. And even though we are a supermajority state. So a really brief setting the stage on what is a bond. But what is a bond refunding? You have the opportunity, but not the obligation to refinance bonds. And this is why we're sharing this presentation, this update is to show you what that might look like should the board want to proceed and what those next steps are. And the purpose of, or the process is actually issuing a new bond at a lower tax exempt rate, lower coupon than the old bonds. So very similar to a home refinance. It's just a little more complicated being a governmental entity with tax exempt federal status. The savings from the bond directly reduce taxes paid by your citizens and your businesses. This does not benefit the district. It does not create new revenue. It does not create capital funds. It is essentially a mechanism where when you build your budget, you will certify a smaller debt payment to your investors. And that is how that money is transferred essentially to your taxpayers. One of the goals when we look at refinancing bonds is to make sure at least there's a floor. We usually don't look at certain bonds unless there's at least a certain amount of savings. The two goals is to save taxpayers money over the life of the bond, and two is to find ways to stabilize tax rates. So sometimes the refinancings aren't smooth in every year, but we're really looking at trying to find the most stable level taxes for your constituents. You currently have 4 bonds outstanding. If you've seen my previous presentations, I am a chart-oriented presenter. In green, you will see the 2014 bonds. Those were approved by voters in 2013 and issued in 2 series. Your next bonds approved in 2017 were issued in 2 series. Those are tan and dark blue. And your 2023 refunding bonds that we did here right after the pandemic are set to mature here in a couple of years. Those are no longer callable. You've already refinanced those bonds once. So what we're looking at today is the green bonds. You'll notice we have a couple more years left on that one. And right around the corner, your 2017 bonds will also be eligible. It would be great if we could do them all at once and streamline it, but federal law limits that somewhat. So if we want to use tax exempt rates, we have to wait for the call date. Here is a summary of the 2014 voter approved bonds, currently forecasting savings over $800,000. If we look in more detail here, you'll notice that the refunding maturities, there's only 3.5 years left, really. And so these savings are spread over that time period. And one thing that we do is we take the savings and we divide it by the bond. And that number is 4.4%. The reason we do that is because we're trying to determine a threshold for whether or not this is a bond that should be under consideration. I can tell you, you're saving $800,000. That sounds great. What if that 800,000 is over $100 million bond? Is that really worth it, right? You think about when we refinance home mortgages, a lot of people say the interest rates need to be 1% less. Well, this is kind of our similar mechanism, is we want to make sure that it's at a certain threshold before considering. There is no state law for school boards on what they should and shouldn't consider, but there is a debt policy that the state of Washington posts. And they say for anything that's the same length of maturity as your bonds, savings should be at least 2%. So this one currently is in excess of the saving thresholds, and that's why we're here, is we're presenting this for your consideration and to see if you also think it's worthy of consideration. I will share that Travis and I put this presentation together, I think Thursday night, Friday morning for the board packet. Interest rates have increased significantly over the last 2 days. So we're hopeful that between now and a possible bond refunded pricing, that interest rates will simmer down. I will not get on a soapbox tonight or get political, but I will say that the price of oil right now is really having an impact on a lot of the bond markets, because every business is almost using oil in some manner. So there's a lot of fears about inflation. Inflation is the enemy of bonds, because once somebody buys our bonds, they are locked in. They're not like a stock that adjusts in the market. Once people buy these, they're locked in, and they become less valuable if inflation is higher. So inflation is a big challenge for us right now, and the Iran crisis is putting us in a little bit of turmoil. So I will share a little sense of caution that this number is going to be volatile until these bonds are locked in. What would this possibly look like to taxpayers? This is one scenario on how we could structure the savings to try and create a stable rate. In this model here, this would create $813,000 in savings in your 2026 calendar year. So that would be in your next budget. That's the amount you would be able to reduce your taxes by for voters. So that's the 2014 bond. Your 2017 bonds are not refundable until right around the beginning of the school year. But I wanted to bring those in front of you as well, just now to kind of as a little bit of a teaser. That one is currently showing 1.6 million in savings, 2.5% savings when we look at a percentage of the threshold. The difference between the length on this bond is the target would be 3% if you were looking at state policy. So this one is a little bit under the recommended model right now, but I still want to bring it to your attention in case it has some recovery, or if the board is still just looking at trying to get savings. Sometimes people would rather get 1.5 million in savings than no savings. So some boards do consider, do they want to adopt a policy number that's less than state recommendations? This is what it would look like for the 2017 bonds, should those be refunded this fall. And you can see the savings are in a box there. That's the amount that Travis would bring to the board, and he would reduce the taxes by those amounts in each of the subsequent years. So what would the board need to do to prepare themselves? We currently have it scheduled, should the board wish to proceed with a review of resolutions in April 28th. You've seen these resolutions in the past when we refinanced the bonds in 2023. What they do is they set parameters, they set timelines, and they delegate the authority to the superintendent and the executive director of finance to proceed if your parameters are met. Does not mean they must proceed, but they can proceed with their discretion. There is no cost to the district to begin the talks and the process other than the time of your administration team until June 3rd. June 3rd is kind of that date where we want to meet with your leadership team and say, that's when you go to Moody's for a credit score. That's when you have your first sunk cost. So at that time, Travis and I have it built in our schedules to really look and see, are the savings still there? Because we don't want to proceed. We can really pause it at that point and not have any financial negative impact to the school district. So June 3rd would be the meet with Moody's, and we have a tentative date scheduled for June 30th. As I said, we're really tracking the Iran crisis, the oil price and market rates, and then we will also track these rates ongoing for your 2017 bonds, should we be able to refinance those in September. So just wanted to bring this to your attention and also see if you had any questions.
All right, any questions?
I have to admit, I went and did a lot of Googling on bond refunding prior to getting here. So it answered some of my questions, but just to make sure that, when you refinance a house, sometimes you then extend the length of it. From what I saw online, that is not the case on a bond refunding. And that's true, correct?
That is correct. You do not have the ability to extend or benefit financially. Yep. You can shorten, but that does create some complications with tax base as well.
Good. Bonnie? Katrina, you have any questions?
I do not. Corey actually answered them in his discussion.
All right, very good. So, anything? From my point of view, I'd like to move forward and look at the bond resolution. The board would have to set the parameters to we don't know, and you don't know what's going to happen with interest rates, but we can certainly get a band where it makes sense and then give you the authority to move forward. That would be my recommendation to the board. Do you need any kind of decision tonight or just a consensus to move forward?
I think consensus to move forward, and then really the only action would be when we present the resolution, and we can get some of those parameters between now and then have those discussions and have a resolution ready for you.
All right, board members, does that sound like a good path forward?
It does to me.
Yeah, I think so. Just like you said.
I think adopting the resolution that's provided by your legal team, and they work collaboratively with you to set those targets. You wouldn't want me to set those as somebody that's biased towards this issue. It sets you in a position to succeed should markets collaborate. It's very possible that we start moving forward and it is not fruitful and the administrative workload is greater than the savings, then we can pause. But by moving forward in April 20th, it puts us in a position should markets recover. But interest rates take the elevator up, and they go up fast, and then they go down slow. Like you might notice, if the crisis ended tomorrow, gas prices aren't going to go back to where they were immediately. It'll take some time. So maybe a couple months, we'll see some recovery. And if not, we can circle back with your leadership team. Bond delegation resolutions typically are set for about a 4 to 6 month period. So you would essentially give your administration team some time to watch the markets.
Okay. Katrina, you okay with moving forward?
Yes, I am.
All right. I think we have consensus.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Corey. Safe travels.
All right, we are to technology usage.
All right, thank you. We've got a few guests coming forward that are going to help speak to this issue. There's been a lot of discussion that's been happening in the board sessions, through community forums, through our parent advisory committee. And so we're bringing forward some information today to help kind of summarize some of those findings from the district and some of our action steps moving forward that we've taken. And really, we brought some building representatives, an elementary representative and a middle school representative to talk what it's like at the building level and what's happening kind of at the ground level from their perspective. So I'm going to turn it over to Jen to get us rolling in this presentation.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Hello. So as Brian said, here's our agenda. We are going to just go over kind of a broad overview. We gave you a lot of information in your board packet, some detailed information. And just wanted to note, it is a preliminary report. We understand that there's some gaps in kind of what the board has asked for, what we're able to provide at this time, but we want it to be an ongoing conversation where we keep coming back. And also to reiterate, we do appreciate recommendations, feedback, questions from our parent guardian advisory group, because we're also trying to answer some of those same questions. So we'll go over the comprehensive usage report. Mr. Chartrand is here to talk elementary, Mr. Saddleman's here to talk middle school, and then we'll come back and kind of talk some next steps. So as I mentioned, just kind of preliminary report overview for you tonight. The comprehensive usage reporting has proven to be a little tricky. And so we really have limited resources and tools that we've discovered at this time. Our LineWise product, we thought it looked promising when we hopped into a vendor Zoom with them last week. They have an add-on product, EdTech Insights, that we really thought was going to kind of do the trick and give us a comprehensive view of what students K through 12 were using their Chromebooks for, both passive and active use. It proved to be a little bit of a bust, but Glenn and his team are still going to be in contact with LineWise because it's under development still. Custodio, the data is still imprecise, and I think Kayla asked the question from the parent guardian group, how many people, or maybe Bonnie, it was you, how many people are actually utilizing this app? We have 16% that are utilizing Custodio at this time. And then reaching out to Google, they do not provide any active versus passive usage reports at this time or tracking for us. So again, we are actively exploring solutions with our vendors. And again, IT, they are partnering with Kennewick. They reach out to Kennewick and Pasco all the time, and also our regional folks, to kind of see if we can collectively come to a better reporting mechanism, because they're having some of the similar issues that we are as well. So again, coming back to this, keep coming back to this conversation. Okay. So any questions about that? Not at this time.
I think I'll wait till the end, but I do have some questions on that, but
Yeah.
I think let's wait till the end. For
Okay. All right. Sounds good. I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Chartrand.
Hello, board. So just at the core of our approach in elementary is just a very simple belief that technology should support strong instruction and not replace it. Our focus remains on hands-on learning, relationships with teachers, movement, and meaningful classroom experiences. Chromebooks are used intentionally and in limited ways to strengthen student learning, not to increase screen time. In our youngest grades, kindergarten and first grade, Chromebook use is very structured and fully supervised. Students primarily use them for individualized reading and math lessons that target specific skills. Sessions are short and focused, and students are not independently browsing or using devices for recreation. Second and third grade, students use Chromebooks for about an hour a week. This time is used for targeted intervention and reinforcement on grade level standards. The majority of instruction continues to be teacher-led and hands-on. In fourth and fifth grade, students may use Chromebooks for about 2 hours a week. At this level, the technology supports writing assignments, research aligned to standards, and the development of responsible digital literacy skills that students will need as they move on to middle school. One important point I want to emphasize is what technology replaces. It replaces one-size-fits-all worksheets and guesswork about what student needs. It allows us to identify learning gaps quickly and provide immediate feedback. What it does not replace is teacher instruction, collaboration, recess, or core experiences of elementary school. Our school day remains balanced. Students still engage in daily direct instruction, small group work, paper writing assignments, recess, art, music, and PE. Technology represents only a very small fraction of the instructional week. Ultimately, our goal is not more technology. Our goal is better learning. And we're using the Chromebooks as a tool to close learning gaps, support individual student needs, and prepare our student for future academic expectations.
Thanks.
All right, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Salomon.
Thank you.
So very similar to what you just heard in the elementary schools, we believe very heavily that Chromebooks are just a tool. It's not going to replace instruction in any way, shape, or form. Those of you who were able to come to our school last month, you got to see some instruction that was teacher-led. The Chromebooks provide the opportunity for differentiated learning, for assessments and things like that. It's a few times a week that the teacher would ask the students to be getting on their Chromebook for any more than maybe part of the period. It's very limited to teacher-led instruction. Students work together sometimes to do research. It's collaborative. It's very often something that the students have been working on over a period of time to produce a project type based learning. And the unstructured time, I think that's where most of the questions we get is how much unstructured time are the students using their Chromebooks? Before school, depending on which middle school you're at, some schools don't allow the Chromebooks to be used until instruction starts. I can speak for Carmichael in the mornings when students come in to get breakfast. At any given time, you might see 5 to 10% of the students on their Chromebooks. They're doing a variety of games, but it's not anything that would be caught by the filter or anything like that. It's from the IT. We allow students to be on them at lunch, but again, one thing we've noticed is a very much of a decline over the last few years. Students are wanting to be social. They want to interact with each other. And we see very few students who bring their Chromebooks to the cafeteria or the library during lunch. Again, maybe 5% on any given day. The games are predominantly the ones I see used are Minecraft type games where kids are trying to, beat a friend or things like that. There's very limited access to anything besides that. We have seen some positive things through IT with the limited usage of YouTube. That has been a positive change for us. We've seen very few students using YouTube compared to previous years. The curfew for the Chromebooks at night has drastically changed the reports we get from Lineways. Prior to this year, when students were able to be on their Chromebooks at night at home, we would see quite a few, I would say, strange searches, I guess you would say, of kids, what things that they would be looking at that would get flagged by Linewise, and then we would be alerted as administrators, and we would check in with those students the very next morning that they were at school. We've seen a drastic reduction due to the curfew. We've also seen a drastic reduction this year in the damage that's occurred to Chromebooks. And I think that's due to the change in the fine system and more of the financial burden that students have to face. It's no more is it just, the insurance will pay for it. I don't have to worry about my Chromebook. There's more of the stake into it now because the family and the students know that they're going to have to pay for the damage, where before they didn't seem to care. They do now. So we've seen a drastic change in that. Overall, time spent expected for students to spend on their Chromebooks at home is minimal. Our instruction is designed to take place during the class period. Teachers do not assign homework. If students are working on their Chromebooks at home, it is work that they just did not get done during the class time. And teachers do a very good job of monitoring that. Those assignments are always able to be found on Canvas. If a parent needs to see what their students need to be caught up on, our teachers do a good job of keeping those assignments up to date in Canvas. So it's a good tool for us. It's been nice for our students, especially those who are sick when they're at home. They at least have a tool they can be interacting with the instruction, not having to wait until they return back from an illness. So that's been a good benefit for us as well. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, thank you. So really next steps, we want to continue to communicate and monitor our expectations across grade levels and sites. And so just because Paul and Brian are here, they have also talked to all of their peer principals. And so they're all on the same page about usage and what they're seeing and agreeing to. We will collect Chromebook usage survey data from elementary staff. We'll collect additional survey information from middle school teachers moving forward. Continue working on securing a reliable, comprehensive usage reporting mechanism. And then again, ongoing conversations on this topic. And so that's what we have for you, kind of big picture. So we'd love to entertain any questions or comments for me, for our principals.
All right, I'm going to start with Katrina because she has to get off at 7:30
Oh,
and
you
have
betcha.
5 minutes. Katrina,
Okay.
did you have anything on this?
Yeah, thanks, Rick. I have a couple of questions. So based on what Mr. Chartrand talked about for elementary, it sounded like there wasn't much unstructured usage at all. But when we did tours of the elementary schools last year, we saw kids and we were told they were allowed to play games as kind of a reward each week or at the end of the week or at the end of the day. So I guess I'm kind of curious about how that jives with the report that we got.
So not specifically being at every building and in every classroom. These are the reports I get from principals. I am 100% sure that there are some kids that are not doing what they're supposed to at times. Absolutely. You get especially into those older grades when they're supposed to be doing some research projects. Are there kids on other tabs that are probably not supposed to be? Sure. But teachers have access on their computer where they can see all of their students' Chromebooks at the same time. So they're able to stop those or freeze their screens and deal with those one-on-one with those students as a classroom management issue.
Okay, thanks, Paul. I think what we heard was that the teachers are endorsing the playing the games as kind of a treat. So it may be a building to building difference in terms of what's encouraged there.
And that very well could be.
And I think that's part of our ongoing conversation, Katrina, is that, we need to communicate our expectations. And if that is not part of our expectations, then we need to make sure that we're communicating that, and then we follow up and monitor those expectations as well.
Yeah, thanks, Jen. I have one more question. So the secondary Chromebook use survey had 98 responses. I'm curious what percentage of teachers responded to that survey.
You bet. Thank you for asking that. We roughly have 180 middle school certificated staff. So just over 50% responded. And that's, again, when we need to follow up with additional survey.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think that's great, Jen. And, just trying to figure out what kind of percentage you want to shoot for to fill that out, and at the elementary level as well, so that we can get a really good perspective from the report. But I do appreciate what you put together. I know we asked for a lot, and I know you're working on it. So I think this was a great start to the conversation. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Dan?
Yeah, I want to, just like Katrina, thank you for all the information you put together. And anybody that's watching either live or tape delay, if you will, you should go and look at the packet that was provided as far as the agenda, because there's a lot more information in there than what's in the slideshow here.
Mm-hmm.
As far as the survey results from the teachers and everything. And so I want to thank the teachers as well for taking the time to do the survey. Really appreciate teacher feedback. They're the ones that see it every single day, every single hour. So that's very, very helpful for us. At least it is for me. I had a couple of things. I was a little bit surprised, I guess, that we didn't have on the IT side a better way to look at what the technology usage was being used to access. Because I know just from a home network perspective, right, from the firewall we have at the house, I can look on there and see how much time is being spent YouTube or Netflix or whatever it is reported on very simple home devices. So it seems building to building, I was kind of surprised we didn't have the ability to see that type of information. And the survey it has some statistics on the average number of hours that a student would use the device for. I think it was on a weekly basis. I can
Is this
remember.
under the curriculum reporting?
Or at home, or homework.
Not really homework, right? Because the homework isn't what it used to be, right? We don't
Right.
see the amount of homework that kids used to have, years ago. Usually, it's, as they said, the work that they didn't get finished in class. But anyhow, it was I would have liked to have been able to see a little bit more, I guess. Thinking back to like when we got devices for our kids as they're growing up, we put a restriction on how much time they could have on the screen, and it would the phone or whatever would log how many times did the screen unlock, how many times how long was the screen on, and what was used and stuff like that. So it just seems from the IT perspective that there could have been more to track what is used for. Because my concern is more on the unstructured time. So thinking of the kid who, after the instruction has been given in class, and then they have time to work on their schoolwork, they presumably they do their schoolwork, and then they're done with that. They have some time to either work on schoolwork from another class, or in the old days, we'd pull out a book and you'd sit there and read, right? But I would imagine that's no longer what's done. That's when the Chromebook would come out and there's something else, some other activity. I'd like to get a feel for what that is. So I guess all that rambling without much of a question in there, other than I appreciate all the work you've done putting this together and agreement with what you're saying. That this is a starting point, and we get a handle on the big picture of everything we've got there, and I think we'll hear from more parents along the way. And just reading news articles and stuff, it's not just a discussion that we're having, but it's being nationwide. What people are having on this topic.
Yeah, and I think really finding balance in there versus those big pendulum swings, right?
Correct.
Finding that balance is
I
gonna be
did
important.
have the one question about the survey stuff, because there were a lot of teachers that responded that they would rather have the carts,
cows.
right? And there were some concerns in there about whether or not they would be able to reserve the cow for that day that they absolutely need it and stuff like that. But without having a real disruptive switch, is there one building or a grade, like a sixth grade, a group of teachers at one of the middle schools that said, hey, we'd like to be the ones that would to be the test subject to see if this thing would work? I mean, if there's one like that where they all jump up and say, hey, let's try this as a group, and see how it works for a smaller group.
And that's
an
great.
option.
And that's some of the additional survey data we want to collect.
Yeah.
Because when I sent it out, the principal sent it to all of their certificated staff. And we know that not every single certificated staff member would use Chromebooks per se. So like their instructional specialists or a PE teacher or something like that. And so filtering it down, and then also seeing if there would be some, test subjects, if you will, that would be willing to give it a go. And so adding some more of those layers in that survey to really drill down.
Yeah, because there was a real cohesion around one staff community at one of the buildings that wanted to try something. I think that would be better for us than to say, we're going to do this for all 4 of our middle schools and force it upon them, instead of having the one that wants to try it and let's see if we can make it work.
I appreciate that. And we also agree. And also, resource acquisition is going to be a big part of that too, getting the carts themselves. So a slow rollout, which would help with balancing as well. So thank you. I appreciate that.
I also feel like one thing to note is that students, there's not much left you can do on your Chromebooks that are like more just like games or fun. So I feel like most of it will just be focused on education when they're doing it off time, because all the games are blocked, YouTube is blocked. So it's like you have to search really hard to find something.
Some of those middle schoolers are pretty determined though.
But we also blocked like personal accounts and like downloading games. So I know a lot of things have been removed recently.
All right, Bonnie.
I think I have just noticed a big decrease in Chromebooks just over, the last few years. just kind of naturally.
Mhm.
And also with the increase of kind of ways that we're able to control things and, like Tiffany was just saying. And also I think a lot of times the things that we hear about are the kids who are not doing what they're supposed to be doing, right? I mean, kids will find a way to not do what they're supposed to do. And I'm able to see, like when my son is on TikTok at school, I get a little pop-up that says, your kid's on TikTok. I mean, I have the Custodio that you can get one free device. So I have it on his phone also. And so,
yeah.
And I can just be like, I wait until the class period is over and then I text him and say like, you're not supposed to have your phone at all. And I see that you're on TikTok. It's only 8:30 in the morning. Right. Like, and he knows that I know. Right. And so he's like, oh my gosh, you're freaking me out. You're like spying on me. And I'm like, yes, I am, because like, that's my job. Anyway, luckily he's never going to watch this, so he won't know that I'm talking about him in this meeting, but he would hate it, I'm sure. So one of his teachers will probably tell him. Mrs. Fife will probably tell him. Anyway, but I think that the things that we hear about are the outliers or the kids who are not doing what they're supposed to do. You always hear about that kind of stuff. And also I think some of the things that parents get frustrated about are when a kid brings a Chromebook home, that just gives me one more job I have to do.
Sure.
Right. And I think that's the frustrating thing is like, if I wanted one more job to do, I would have my kid have their own Chromebook anyway. Right. And so I think that's part of the frustration of parents is that it's just one more thing we have to monitor that makes life a little bit harder parenting teens or middle schoolers, which are just rough anyway. So I think that there's all kinds of mixed data points is what I'm saying, right? Like, and then as far as elementary school kids go, I think that a lot of times when we go to visit elementaries and we see the kids on Chromebooks, it's because they're showing us, like they made a presentation to show us on their Chromebook.
Yes.
And so that doesn't necessarily reflect what they're actually doing every day, all day. So there's just a lot of.
It's a lot.
It's a lot.
It is.
And I just appreciate you guys trying to filter all that information and all those data points to try and get a good idea.
Yeah.
And then the more we learn, the better we can do. Right. And same with, when we all handed our kids iPhones in 6th grade when, 15 years ago. And now we know that was a really dumb thing that we did. And so when we learn more, we do better. And that's all we can ask, I think, of educators. So thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Right, thanks. Anything more?
I just say in my experience, definitely I use Chromebooks a lot more in middle school compared to high school and elementary school. But we have all this data about just how much people are using Chromebooks and what they're using it for. But basically, in my experience, when we're using it in class, it's always for something active or just like independent work. So I don't think it's like, I mean, is the goal for this to lessen the amount that people are using Chromebooks? Because every time I use it, I think it's like a healthy amount and it's for good in my experience.
That's lovely. And I'd love to hear that from a student themselves. So thank you. And I think that there's different levels of like gradual release as we go up through the grade bands, and maturity level plays into that as well.
Okay, and I just had one more thought for like the cow carts.
Yeah.
I think it would kind of just pose some problems because students would be able to take their Chromebooks home with that model, which would limit just the amount of online assignments that would be given for homework, which I think is like I have to do something at least on a computer at least once per day for homework. So I think that would just pose some issues.
Sure. And just to be clear, we're really kind of focused on K-8 right now, where we haven't really explored high school at this point. So you guys are good.
Yeah, but even in middle school, I would do that.
Thank you for that. Yep.
I just had a question about the iReady thing. When you said like 8 hours, is that a year or how does that?
Can you tell me what page you're looking at?
It's page 19.
Okay.
For like the first grade or something.
Page 19. For which grade level?
I guess just all of them, what it means.
Okay, are you looking at that bottom chart for the iReady personalized, the ELA? Yeah, so that is year to date. So it's on average up to this point.
All right.
Okay. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I think those are kind of the charts I was looking at a little bit, but my question around them, and I know we're not going to have the information, but that's the average,
Mhm.
but what's the extreme? You know, what's the deviation from that?
Exactly.
Is one thing I'd like to know on something like that.
Okay. So both ends, the extremes.
Right.
Sure. Okay. Thank you. We'll reach out to our vendors and see what we can have them pull for us as well. Yeah, thank you.
All right, this is good. This is good.
Okay.
The good presentation, good data. It
Thanks.
sounds like Chromebooks are appropriately boring now.
Yay.
So what do you think the next step on this then? When do you think we'd get more information IT wise, you know, reporting on
When
some
would
of
you
this?
like us to come back?
I mean, not before we have it. I mean,
Sure. But I mean, I think it's an ongoing conversation.
Yeah, I think
And
so too.
You know, I think tentatively we can maybe look for the next academic meeting in April. And if we're not necessarily ready by that time, we will let you know. Because we want to have useful, updated information for you all.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Rick, following our new meeting structure, would this be where we'd have another?
Yeah.
If we had people in the audience that wanted to talk about this subject.
Yeah, I didn't even talk about it tonight. So I think, well, let's do it on this one. So for the audience here, what Dana's talking about, we didn't have anyone signed up for the 30 minutes at the beginning for public input. At the last meeting, we talked about having time for public input on each agenda item. And that was what my big speech was. So I'm not going to do the speech, but I'm going to ad-lib it a little bit. So in general, well, until about 10 years ago, this was our practice. So you'd have public input at the beginning, and then for each agenda item, after there was a presentation and board discussion, there would be an opportunity for public to approach the board, same kind of protocol, 2 minutes maximum. And we reserve the right to limit time in case there were 50 people that wanted to talk for 2 minutes each. We would like to go home at some time tonight before midnight. So let's do that a little bit. So is there anyone who'd like to make any public comment on this particular agenda item, technology usage? All right, Kayla, you're the first one doing this in this decade.
Well, I just wanted to speak to the idea of, like, we're talking a lot about like using the Chromebooks for, you know, proper purposes and not gaming, and that they've become properly boring kind of thing. But I think that at the meeting that we had last week with the parents and the guardians, we generally were talking that we just want school as a whole to use screen time less. So it's not necessarily, oh, are they using it for academic purposes or not? It's they're using screens for everything. And we want our kids to learn on paper and be reading on books instead of on screens, because of all the statistics that are coming back that are saying that the retention and all of those other things are not as strong as when we are doing it on paper and using our hands to write and those kinds of things. So like homework would be on paper instead of on the Chromebook, that kind of thing. That's what a lot of the parents were asking for and discussing at that meeting. So I just wanted to bring that forward as something to be aware of, that a lot of us are concerned just about the amount of screen time period, whether it's academic or not. So.
All right, thanks.
Yeah.
So based on that comment, is that something we can look at as well? And is there research on that? That'd be something to bring back, I think.
Yeah, I took some notes on that. And so we'll convene and we'll look at all of those things for you and bring it back to you the next time. So, yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Thanks.
Thank you, Kayla. That's exactly what I was fishing for on that reminder to Rick.
Yeah. Feel free to remind me. I don't do this anymore. Are we good on this one?
Wait, do we have like data on like how much Chromebook use has increased over time? Or like
Over time, it's 100% because we didn't have when I went to school.
or like since like when did we introduce them?
2000. When did we bring these? 2000.
2020.
Before COVID.
So right before
Uh-huh.
COVID. So 2020. So we really had, you know, them since COVID.
Really?
Yeah,
Wait, I
we
had
were-
Chromebooks in
Yeah.
like middle school.
We had one-to-one before COVID.
Was
we
it like
had cows. we had classroom carts before, but 1-to-1 where each kid got them was the year going into COVID. Yeah, 1920.
1920?
2019, 2020.
Oh, got it. Okay.
Yeah, okay.
So middle schools had cows. What about high school?
High schools did.
Really?
Oh.
I just want to bring forward the perspective that I think that computers and screens in general, the opportunities that they can give to learning through like those, programs outweigh the possible negatives of screen usage over paper.
Okay, thank you.
25 years ago on the board, we had quite the spirited discussion about the use of calculators. So this will, I mean, we're going to look at a lot of data and things like that. This will take care of itself over your generation at some point.
Yeah. I remember those.
I do too. I do too.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks.
Yep.
Thanks, Jim.
All right, we are ready for the high cap report from Whitworth.
Yeah, we are going to transition, and we have some guests with us that are online that we're going to bring up. And as we're transitioning to those guests, I do want to say thanks to our guests that were here tonight. So Brian Stadelman and Paul Chartrand for being here and coming and giving that perspective. I think it's just helpful to have that perspective from the building level and just to get that information out there. And it's they gave up their night to come here to do that. So I appreciate it.
Appreciate you both. And Mr. Chartrand, I do not appreciate you retiring.
No, Stadelman.
Nope, sorry, wrong one. I knew who I meant.
You're just going to make a panic at William Wiley right now.
Paul Chartrand is, both of you are too young to retire but Brian, you've had staff reach out to me in tears. So sad tears,
right.
Just to be clear that you're leaving, not happy tears that you're leaving.
Yeah.
So congratulations on retirement, and Paul Chartrand, I will not be here when you retire. You're
6
yep,
years.
6 years. No, I'm retiring before that. But thank you both.
Bye, you two.
Okay, so we're transitioning now to a report on highly capable services. We had, just a little bit of background. I don't know how the tech, we have a slide deck, so hopefully we can pull up that slide deck as well. There it is, and do I control that up here, or you? Would you like me to? Sure, thank you. Yeah, so just to kind of ground ourselves in why we're doing this work. There was some conversation last year about highly capable services at the middle level. So this brought us to a report of doing some foundational work at the elementary level before we got to the middle level conversation. So this was one of our goals that we set out, our academic goals at the beginning of the year. And a major component of that goal was to bring in Whitworth University to conduct an audit for our program and for the services that we provide currently. They've done that. They've finished that. We spent 3 days, full days with them last week, going over the results of this report. And rather than hearing those results from us, I thought it'd be best to bring the experts in to be able to do that. And so are you going to talk on this slide, or should we just, okay. Well, I'm just going to introduce our guests here to jump right into that report, because I think that's what we're here to do and are most interested in at the moment. So we've got two guests from Whitworth University, Dr. Tamara Stembaugh and Jen Flo, and hopefully we can, they're online. Thank you for your patience, you two. I know you've been waiting patiently online for a little bit, so thanks for hanging in there with us. They're going to review this executive summary and what their process was in order to go through and do this audit for us, and then their findings and some of their recommendations moving forward. So I'll turn it over to Dr. Stembaugh and Jen Flo.
Great. Thanks, Brian. It's great to see everybody virtually. I'm Tamara Stambaugh, and I just wanted to say how honored we are to be part of the district's ongoing work and support of talent development and advanced learning. And so before we jump into the findings, I just wanted to add a bit more detail about who we are. And so we want to go back to Jen's slide real quick. So Jen Flo is a lecturer at Whitworth University and a recognized expert in gifted ed. So she leads presentations at the state, national, and international level, and she's also fun to work with. So she loves school improvement and even did her master's thesis on district program evaluation and has led several reviews. And so she was the past president of the Washington Association for the Educators of Gifted and Talented and a regional administrator at an ESD before coming to Whitworth, and was recently honored with the Dedication to Excellence Award for Exemplary Leadership. So it's been fun to work with her throughout this process, and I just wanted you to know who she was, and then I'll turn it over to her to share some ideas. Oh, Jen, you're on mute.
Thank you for that. Now that I've got that over with, it's really a privilege to work alongside and introduce Tamara, someone whose life's work has shaped how we understand and serve and champion gifted learners. She began where it matters most in the classroom as a teacher and coordinator of gifted programs, and experienced firsthand the profound difference that the right support, the right curriculum, and the right advocacy can make in a child's life. And that conviction has driven everything since. She's gone on to earn her PhD at the College of William and Mary, an institute that recognized not only her scholarly excellence, but her depth of character, awarding her the prestigious Margaret the Lady Thatcher Medallion for scholarship, character, and service. From there, she spent years at Vanderbilt University as the executive director of programs for talented youth, an associate research professor, building and leading initiatives that reach students and educators from across the country. We are fortunate to have Dr. Stambaugh in Washington State serving as the director, and Margot Long endowed chair to gifted education at Whitworth University, where her work continues to center on what she cares about, equitable access to excellence. Her research addresses curriculum design, talent development, and instructional practices for students. In particular, rural and low-income backgrounds, young people with extraordinary potential who are often left out of the conversations. Her influence extends also well beyond any single campus or state. She is currently in a leadership role with WATAG, the Washington Association of Educators of Talented and Gifted, the American Education Research Association Giftedness and Creative SIG, and has served on the board of directors for the National Association for Gifted Children. She's a member of the United States Embassy Bureau of Education and Cultural Affairs Speakers Bureau, and carries on the work into the international stage. The awards and honors continue to follow her throughout her career, several from NAGC, the Faculty Challenge from Whitworth University, and the Exemplary Service from Vanderbilt. And she has been the author and co-author of many books and curriculums and articles that have won national recognition. In every sense, it is an honor to work along with her and see her as a scholar who serves students. So it was our pleasure. And to start, I'm going to say we can advance the slide. I can't see, so I don't know what slide we're on at the moment. To look at the services that came in the spring of 2025, we were contacted by the district to discuss the desire for a program review, and a proposal was created and approved. The plan of action was designed and implemented in fall of 2025. And the goal of the review was to determine what extent highly capable services are aligned with evidence-informed practices, and what else could support the services for high-cap learners within the district context. So we focused on 3 questions. What are the benefits and needs of high-cap services and identification and structures as perceived by educators, administrators, caregivers, and students? To what extent are high-cap students receiving services that meet the needs in and out of the classroom? And to what extent do the identification and services align with evidence-informed practices in the field of gifted education? The findings and recommendations you'll see throughout this report didn't emerge from theory alone. They grew out of conversations with the people who know this work. We listened to students, we heard from families, and we sat with educators and staff who support the highly capable learners. We spent time in classrooms observing instruction firsthand and reviewed documents that reflect how programs are designed and implemented. We anchored everything we saw and heard in the research, drawing on the broader field of gifted education and aligning recommendations directly to the NAGC, the National Association for Gifted Children, the programming standards, which represent the profession's best thinking on what high-quality gifted programs could look like. In other words, this work is grounded in the lived experience of your community and the evidence-based of the field, and we believe that the combination makes the path forward both credible and actionable. So with that foundation in mind, the voices in the community and the evidence in the field, let's walk through a little bit of how we structured the inquiry. The program review is organized around those 3 guiding questions, and each one was intentionally paired with the data sources best suited to answer it. The first question asks how educators, administrators, caregivers, and students perceive those benefits. And for that, we turned our primary focus primarily to focus groups and interviews because perception lives in conversation. The second question looked at whether or not students are receiving services that meet their needs both inside and outside the classroom. And here we added classroom observations and document review alongside those conversations because the fullest picture of a program emerges when we look at them from multiple perspectives. The third question asked how well identification and services align with evidence-informed practices, and that's where the research literature, the NAGC programming standards, and the document review supports the process. Together, these questions and their corresponding data sources gave us the layered picture where the program is thriving and where there is room to go. And I'm going to hand it over to Tamara to share some of our findings.
Perfect. And so we're going to start, just so you know, for the numbers we had for focus groups and interviews, we had 24 teachers, 18 parents, 11 students, and 6 principals and 5 administrators. And then for observations, we were in 6 different schools and 33 classrooms. So we're going to share some findings by data source. And so we can go straight to the classroom observations. And so for our classroom observations, it was really clear during our visit that teachers established positive learning environments and routines, and they really wanted to facilitate student learning. You can tell teachers care about their students, and it was really fun to be in the classrooms. And we observed several classrooms in which reading was being taught, and the teacher showed a commitment to the new reading curriculum implementation. And so that was also very clear in our observations. In some classrooms, we had a chance to talk with teachers. We didn't want to interrupt learning, but if they wanted to talk with us, a lot of them came up intentionally to express their desire that they really wanted to differentiate for gifted students and provide instruction that matches the needs of all students. And that was very clear. But that said, it did come with some barriers. And so educators wanted and need different types of support, including materials, time, and guidance to best meet the needs of their gifted students. And so we know that differentiation is a challenging endeavor. And so while the care and concern was there, advanced instruction and plan differentiation, particularly for academically advanced students, was really evident or evidence informed and was teacher or grade level team dependent. When we did observe differentiation, it usually took the form of maybe a paraprofessional leading an independent project or some kind of an enrichment activity, the walk to learn or the what I need now models in which students were provided skill-based or enriched lessons, and then some open-ended questions that we saw, particularly around problem-solving processes in math. And so while we observed a lot of these things, as noted, the robustness for these services could be enhanced, but we did see some attempts at this. So for focus groups and interviews, there were 3 core but related themes that emerged: communication, differentiation and access, and professional learning. And so for communication, all groups wanted more information about identification processes and how to best interpret the results from the assessments. They wanted more communication about building-based services as well as how to access Quest services. for differentiation and access, more guidance and articulation about what advanced opportunities in the classroom should look like and what is currently provided was an ongoing and expressed need. And this request was coupled with the desire for more consistent building-based services and information, again, about how to access more of those building-based services and quest opportunities. For professional learning, it was clear that there's a desire for additional knowledge about gifted students and what they need to thrive, and also clear that there was a request for more resources to support advanced instruction, as well as parent support and professional learning around ways that they could work with their child and in what areas that they saw the most strengths. So Jen, for document review.
Yep. So for the document review, the documents revealed that that the district is paying attention. There are board policies 2190, 2195, and 3110. And together these form the thoughtful framework, one that reflects the commitment to following Washington state law, and then also importantly, meeting students where they are. These policies address how students enter the district, how they are identified for highly capable services through multiple measures and through a multidisciplinary process, and then how they can access accelerated pathways when they are ready, whether that's subject acceleration, advanced coursework, dual credit, or grade level advancement. Taken together, these describe a flexible, student-centered system that gives family choices, provides educators guidance, and it gives students multiple ways to access their learning. This is a real foundation and it does matter. What we also found is that the district is also well positioned to make that foundation even stronger with some additional clarity. Specifically, clear goals for the service options so that students, families, and educators can understand the purpose and the expected outcomes and sharpen the impact of what's already in place. And outlining the role of district leaders, building administrators, and classroom teachers would strengthen the consistency, communication, and shared accountability across the district. All refinements of what you already have in place as your foundations. We also evaluated the program using a consistent and credible benchmark with the NAGC programming standards, and the most widely recognized framework in our field for defining what high quality gifted education looks like, and it emphasizes student outcome. These standards, stated on the slide in bulk, reflect the decades of research and the collective wisdom of practitioners, researchers, and advocates around the country. They give us a shared language and a common lens, not to judge, but to illuminate where a program is strong and where there can be intentional growth. They provide a structure for making important decisions regarding program development for all contexts and districts. Using the standards as part of this review means the recommendations that you'll see are not just our observations, they're grounded in what the field has collectively determined best serves gifted students. It's worth noting that the findings are not unique to this district, to Richland. They reflect patterns that are seen commonly when programs are reviewed against the NAG standards, and that matters. They tell us that the structures here are largely in place, but there is opportunity to deepen how explicitly they are lived out day to day. When the practices and policies are articulated, everyone in the community and in the schools benefits and can move in the same direction with greater confidence. What's particularly encouraging is the investing in professional learning around curriculum instruction that can have the multiplying effect. Strengthening doesn't just happen in one area, it lifts multiple standards at once, especially around accountability and the kinds of support structures that students and in which educators and students will thrive. We invite you to think of this also not as a checklist, but also more of a roadmap, one that points towards a clear and ambitious version of what gifted education can and should be for the students that you're serving. To summarize, our findings, overall findings, universal screening and increases the number of students identified and promotes equitable practices. More information about identification is desired by most teachers and families, although policies are publicly available. There are pockets of evidence-informed practices were observed and can be replicated district-wide. Clear expectations, pathways, and communications about services, teacher support, and professional learning services are needed. And Quest is a very highly regarded program that has perceived benefits for participating students. More access to consistent and advanced opportunities for all students would be desired. And the implementation of policies and procedures needs ongoing evaluation, and the work of current leaders and their willingness to improve and extend all services is something to be recognized and commended.
So what do we recommend? So we recommend clearly articulated identification and service pathways, and then also a continuum of services that supports a wide range of learner needs. And so included in this continuum of services would be desired outcomes for each service, resource needs, and then identification criteria. And then also to develop some pathways and programs for ongoing equity and access at the K2 level, as well as maybe other key transition times to support all students in their talent development, maybe prior to formal identification or as changes in services or buildings may occur. And then also to develop a 3 to 5 year differentiated professional development plan to support educators in recognizing and supporting students who need advanced instruction. And then finally, to make sure that we're communicating and monitoring all of these different processes that are either already in place or what might be changing as a result of this review. So communicate and monitor the identification and service delivery processes, the implementation of policies, and what those ongoing expectations are for continued growth. And then finally, just as some of our final notes, Jen and I, as Brian said, have already been working with the leadership teams, and we fully believe that Richland is positioned to create a gold standard system for supporting the talents of all students. The administrators have just been really gracious with their time and really show that dedication and commitment to the process and ongoing planning. And then parents and educators really seem ready to move forward with even more robust practices. And so in every focus group or comments, as we were talking with individuals in the district, we heard a lot of complimentary comments about the steps that the district's taking. And so I think one quote from a teacher sort of sums it up, and I put that on the slide. And they just said, "I'm grateful that we're beginning to ask these questions and striving to make decisions that truly support all students. Growth comes from thoughtful and sometimes difficult conversations."
All right, that was good. So, this is a good time for questions or comments?
Sure.
All right. So first, thank you. And I'm going to go through the board here. I'm start with Bonnie because I started with Dan before. So Bonnie.
Yeah.
Any questions or comments?
That was a lot of information.
Yep. It was a lot of work.
Yeah, no, I think it's great. And I kind of agree with the teacher that said that, sometimes we have to have really difficult conversations and kind of ask the right questions in order to get the right answers. And the more we can focus on maybe gaps that are existing in our current system, then we can kind of see where we can better fill those to make learning better for all the kids, wherever they are on the spectrum of learning. So.
All right. Thanks. Dan.
Yeah, I mean, I'll agree with the wow part. I personally, I guess I'm better with more, I don't know, more pictures, more detail in that way versus the kind of the broad descriptions of stuff here. The only question that really came to me as reading through the recommendations earlier was that first recommendation about ensuring that the identification and services match and are clearly articulated and implemented. And was just hoping maybe you'd give us some examples of maybe where we're not doing that now. Do we need more work on the identification, or do we need more work on the services? I mean, what do you see there from what we have right now?
Yeah, I think that's a really good question. And so we usually talk about identification and service as the combination of dose. You know, if you think of it like a medical model, who needs what at what times and in what level of intensity in order to continue to grow. And so we weren't quite sure that the dose, so the services were matching the level of identification. So for example, some students may need some differentiation in the general classroom and with core with some units, where other students may need more advanced ongoing daily differentiation. And so it's the idea of getting that dose and domain right. And some may need it only in math, while others may need it in reading, and or some need it in both. And so it's looking more specifically at the combination of those to figure out, and especially in the school-based services.
All right, students. Questions, comments? Nothing?
I don't really know.
All right, I do. Go ahead.
Sorry, I just have one more thing to say. I do appreciate that, my youngest is in high school now, but I have had kids on run the whole gamut of learning abilities, kids who are really advanced and kids who are not. And I just know that whether we have strict systems in place, my kids have always had teachers who have tried really hard to give the kids what they need, like my son who needed that extra work because he was kind of bored with what the rest of the class was doing, and she would kind of sneak him extra things on the side or whatever. And I just appreciate that our teachers have always been willing to kind of go the extra mile to give the kids what they need, whether or not we have a really great system in place yet for that. So differentiation is a really big challenge for teachers. I appreciate the fact that they're willing to do that amongst so many kids with so many different learning abilities.
All right.
So go ahead, now it's your turn.
I agree. Well, thank you. Appreciate it.
No problem.
First, Whitworth University, I want to thank you. I've given you hundreds of thousands of dollars because 3 of my kids have graduated from there, and I still have one there, and I have a future son-in-law. They haven't talked about that yet, but I'm saying it. Who got his bachelor's and master's there. So y'all do great work. And it showed in this report.
Future son-in-law when they haven't talked about it yet?
Yeah, they're not going to watch this.
Oh my gosh.
My wife's in the back saying, "Oh my God, I can't believe you said that." So
they were talking about it on the way here. Great. So you're not behind.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Get a job.
Okay, go ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
So one of the reasons that we asked for this is parents love Quest, and you saw that. And there's been a lot of parent requests for more opportunities for students who don't want to travel to a magnet program and remain in their home schools. That's one of the things. We also have, I have questions, is Quest the best model? Does that need to be expanded? So there's a whole bunch of, I think this is a really good basis for asking those questions. How do we change? What do we need to change in terms of services? And I saw that recommendation at the end. I think that's going to take work on the part of staff in the community and you to help us thread that needle.
Yes.
Those are next steps, right? I mean,
Those
I'm
are
jumping
next
ahead.
steps. Yes, and I'm going to step in here and interject real quick. But I think through this research and through this work, we've identified that Quest isn't going to go anywhere, that we're going to continue to offer that program. But we
say that really clearly so that we don't get letters.
Yep. Quest is not going anywhere.
There, thank
it
you.
is remaining as is, and we're going to continue to improve that program and do the best by the students and staff that we have at the Quest program. However, it is clear that we have a gap in our services for our highly capable population at our other sites. And that is where I think the planning and preparation in this next 1 to 3 years is really going to come to fruition, is identifying how we're going to provide better supports for those students in those buildings. So that was kind of the crux of the work that was so exciting. And I think Dr. Stambaugh and Jennifer can attest to the enthusiasm from the principals that were in the room last week to be willing to make changes to their programs and what is happening in their buildings. So we started that work last week. We've got a follow-up meeting on Thursday of next week to continue that conversation with building principals. So we're just at the front end of developing what those what those changes in the recommendations that they provided and some of the things that we can implement moving forward. A big part of that is professional development and professional learning. So we're going to have to change some structures that are in place at those elementary sites. And that's not going to happen overnight. That's going to take some time. The neat thing about all of this and the timing with it is it incorporates beautifully with the work that we've been doing around MTSS in our system that provides a full multi-tiered system of supports for our full range of learners. So this is one branch of that learning that we're working on, and it just will blend into our plans really well.
All right. So we've been doing MTSS for a while, and it sounds as if we need to make this more robust for the kids who need that. I like the dose idea that you talked about. I hadn't heard that before. In how you selected the classrooms, you had 33 classrooms. Were they self-selected, or were you wandering and just walked in, or how did that work?
Yeah, so in all but one building, like the building principals knew we were coming, and that was, carefully selected to make sure we covered all the different, regions. And then within that, most of the building principals just said, the teachers know you're coming, feel free to pop in, and we would meet with the principals ahead of time. So it was fairly randomized. And then, if there was something going on, obviously that, wasn't really observable, we would leave and maybe try to come back before the end of our time, so that we could see construction going on, as opposed to like lining up for recess or something like that.
Right, makes sense. I think it provides a really good basis for moving forward and making those decisions that staff's going to have to work through for the next few years. So thank you very much. I appreciate it. Anything else on this topic?
Do you know the percentage of students that qualify for Quest that actually attend?
Not off the top of my head. It varies. It varies every year. Yep. So off the top of my head, no, but it varies year to year. We offer the seats, and then some folks choose to stay at their home school, right? And then we go further down the wait list. And so it varies year to year.
And are the kids that choose to stay at their home school, what opportunities are they given for like similar help?
So that's what we're working through, right? So really building up and creating that continuum of service for DOS for the students that do require some additional challenge and advancement in both reading and math at their home school. And so we're so super excited about this work and the results and the recommendations from our partners here to help us build that out.
Is there not already like an advanced program at each elementary school?
So not like Quest. So
not
Quest,
quite as
yeah. So Quest is a self-contained like program, right, where they're at that Lewis and Clark Elementary specifically, and so the remaining schools have school-based services where the services are offered in the general classroom through the various evidence that they observed as well. So different win time, walk to time, some differentiation within the classroom. And so that's the work that we need to do moving forward, is to kind of systematize that access and be very clear around those services and provide professional learning and resources for our teachers to provide that.
Thank you.
Yeah, you bet.
Those were the questions that generated this report and the path forward. Those are good questions. Nice job.
One more thank you to Dr. Stambaugh and Jennifer Flo. They asked the hard questions. They asked the difficult questions. I think that we leaned on their expertise. And just to continue our partnership with them, they're open to us being able to reach out to them and their networks of people that we can tap into for our work moving forward. So just a huge thanks to them and their willingness to help us on this journey.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thanks. Good night.
All right, next steps are just as part of the plan we already have moving forward. So anything else from the board on that? I wanted to make sure to cover Dan's question on that one.
So next steps in the packet. So
we have some action items through this spring, continuing to work with our principal group through the recommendations and the priorities within those recommendations. And then spring 2026, we'll have that 3 to 5 year plan, or summer, June, have that 3 to 5 year plan for you.
Okay, that works.
All right. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks, you guys.
All right, Mr.
All right.
Belisle, fiscal update.
Travis is ready to roll.
Okay, so I've tried something new with the fiscal framework. We've been talking about trying to increase our transparency and some of the accountability work, the accountability added in some of those outside standards we've been talking about with the OSPI and SAO. Will I still be able to advance this? Yes, I can. Going into enrollment, we've been talking about kind of an interesting activity in the high school level. We were able to identify that was just some work that we needed to do to correct some of how our students were being coded for enrollment. And so made the corrections. Unfortunately, that means that we are along trend, a little bit steeper of a slope, but still relatively on trend. You can see at each level we're right there. Following previous years, we just have less students, and so yeah. As far as the monthly part of the presentation, I'm going to go ahead and probably breeze through that, still answer questions. What I did want to really dive into today is the analysis bit. So here, again, added this in last month, and this will be part of the packet for every month moving forward. The analysis bit that I've included will not be. And so what I thought would be nice to look at is, are we being good stewards of our money? Are we making appropriate decisions and really tracking and trying to be accountable for our finances? And so I thought providing a quarterly and mid-year analysis and then a third quarter analysis as far as how much are we spending year to date in comparison to previous years, where is our money going? And being able to look at it from an aspect of where are we seeing rises in costs, where are we seeing reductions, are these appropriate in those categories, and really diving in and analyzing this from that perspective. And so what I did is a per student comparison, because if we look at total expenditures, when we have less students, we should anticipate our expenditures to go down. So really, what are we saying, right? And so if we look at a per student comparison, I think that helps to illustrate, are we actually making sound changes? And we needed to do a structural rechange, and we've been going through that process. And so in the packet, the numbers will be bigger. You can zoom in your PDFs on the presentation here. We are somewhat limited, but I wanted to provide as much information as I could. And so I've been talking about funding categories every month, and now provide that narration monthly as far as what we're seeing. From a mid-year point, I'm looking at each year. The percentage underneath is that particular year, how much of a reduction from the year prior, right? And so last year in this basic education general unrestricted funding category, we had expenditures of 6,736 per student. And this year it's 6,382%. That's a 5% reduction. And this is the category where we can build back our fund balance. This is it does include basic education, but it also includes ALE, CTE, and district-wide expenditures. And as we go through, I think we'll see how that plays out when we look at activities specifically. Special ed, and also I thought it'd be nice to see what has been the 4-year difference, right? In the last 4 years of comparative data, how have we how have we adjusted? And so over a 4-year period, we've seen a 3.8% reduction here. Over a 4-year period, we've seen expenditures in special education reach 35% growth. Have to meet the needs of kids, right? We've been talking about this. We've received more funding in the last couple of years for our state programs, our categorical programs. This includes highly capable, which we were just talking about, helping to fund our program. We still utilize a lot of our enrichment dollars to fund our highly capable because, again, legislature doesn't see that as part of basic education. They see that 1 + 1, 2 + 2 basic education. They don't see the needs of our highly capable students as part of that. So that comes out of enrichment and also some of the highly capable categorical funds. I think I mentioned LAP, and then also transition bilingual fits into this category. So we've seen growth in expenditures there, also growth in revenues. Same with federal programs. These state and federal programs, these usually wash by the end of the year. A lot of times we spend the money quite a bit at the beginning of the year. We talk about the way that the state likes to hold our money. We receive 22% of our revenue from the state in the last 2 months of our fiscal year when school is not even in session. And so that the state categorical programs is part of that funding model. So we spend the money primarily through the year. And so how has it looked mid-year? These are the what we're seeing. Moving on, I'll go on salaries and benefits. You can see a big reduction, 93.6%, 90.56%, 93.14% salary, essentially the payroll expenses to the revenues to date, as far as through February of the last 4 years. And then where we're at this year, 84.79%. I think that is a healthy projection. If you look at our fiscal health indicator sheet, I'm projecting us to be at 83%, which is right where we want to be. We're doing kind of a world tour, visiting our buildings, talking about the fiscal framework. The target of 83%, really 85%. Those aren't arbitrary numbers. I've looked at what districts are doing academics well, what districts are doing finances well, and seeing where they're spending their money and their percentages. Only 2 of the districts that do academics really well have expenditures for payroll over 85%. Everybody else, there are a few that are under 80%. The average is 82.5%. So these are our target numbers. That being under 85 is where we want to be. If you're over 85, if you look at the worst performing financial districts, their average is above 85%. And so we do not want to be in those realms. And so we're right on, I think, where we need to be. And I know Mr. Gosney and Mr. Ellis are doing a great job working on that staff plan to make sure that we're going to stay within healthy parameters for that. Moving on to some of the categories, I think the study of the analysis does a good job of showing where we're prioritizing our spending. You can see 4 years difference. We've seen a 8.5% growth of expenditures at the elementary level, 11.5 at the middle school, 9.3 at the high school. We've seen a very minute, immaterial growth at the ALE level. And then you've seen a drastic 7.85 drop at the district-wide. If you look at this year specifically, district-wide expenditures, 10.8% reduction from last year. I've kind of talked about the salary and benefits. This is another look more at individual object levels. I thought this was a good one to look at. We talk about the different activity categories as we analyze our expenditures and where, again, our dollars going. And so I thought looking at the administration, breaking it up between what's at the building level, You can see salaries have gone up 5.9% at the building level for salaries. This is not just principals. This also includes secretary, staff. This is everybody that works in the principal office, essentially the registrars, the attendant secretaries, that and the principals, the vice principals. So 6% growth. We've seen a big change in materials, supplies, other costs at the building level. Central admin, you can see over 4 years, we've had a 17% reduction in central admin salaries and benefits. This last year, as far as expenditures per student, we've dropped 13.09% in this category from expenditures last year. So we've made some very significant cuts here at the central admin level for salaries. Also at the MSOC level, you see a 29.47% change for over 4 years. We've reduced MSOC expenditures 9.32% from last year. So overall, you see over the last 4 years, about a 9% drop in administration expenditures. Again, most of that coming at central admin. We are trying to prioritize spending at the student level, at the buildings, maintain our buildings and our student structure. Teaching and teaching support. Looking at these numbers, you can see 4.3% growth in expenditures over the last 4 years. There was a smaller drop, 1.72% in comparison to last year, but you can see the growth over the 4 years. What's interesting here, the teaching support saw a bigger growth over 4 years. And so, again, maintaining the support for students. All of these categories are direct working with students. Just to kind of clarify, teaching, that is classroom. That is classroom, actual teaching activities. This does include paras, okay? Teachers and the paras that are helping in the classrooms. When we're talking about teaching support, these activities are learning resources, guidance and counseling, pupil management, safety, health and related services. This is also instructional, professional development for teachers, and a little bit of instructional technology out of this, and then also a little bit of curriculum. And then maintenance, we've had a 5.5% increase. We have some very significant maintenance needs that we've been having to put on hold. This number should probably have been up, but we've had to cut back on maintenance as well to ensure that we can keep the classrooms running optimally. So I'll go back. Do we have questions on the analysis?
I do have one clarification. Just on page, oh no page numbers.
Mm-hmm.
The chart we were looking at that had the expenditures to revenue, where you're showing the 85% on the salaries. You also have the MSOC to revenue on there, and then you have the total.
Mm-hmm.
When it's totaled, it's still for this year, it totals to 101.27%.
Correct.
But on your other stuff, we're showing that we're only spending the 96 point something percent. I've got a disconnect on why those aren't the same.
So those aren't the same because the 96% is a projection based on where we're at the end of February and trying to project out August. We should be fine again. So March and April are typically higher revenue months. We haven't seen April yet. April is one of the highest revenue months, if not the highest revenue months. July and August are extremely high, or are higher months as far as the state revenue goes. So that's why typically throughout the year, we're going to always be under. And the other thing too is with federal programs, we spend the money and then we have to submit the reimbursement. So we're always going to be behind on federal program revenue as well. And that catches up in August and becomes true.
So the other 4 years you have there are at the same time
Yes.
of that school year.
Yes. Yes.
Right.
No.
All right. I don't have anything. This
Okay.
is good and clearly
job,
presented.
Travis.
Thanks.
Yeah. I do want to, we've been getting questions for, we just talked about that service. We're going to work with Corey moving forward and look to see about reducing the bond principal amounts owed, which will hopefully help us with the interest. We're going to watch that. Capital projects. I'm going to try and figure out a way that I can provide balances monthly. I know that that's a question that comes up quite a bit. So I wanted to touch on that. Currently in capital projects, we have about $4.9 million of undesignated funds that we can utilize for facilities. And Ken and I have been working on some of that, see what we need to do to prioritize this year before we get the plan put in place with Concertus. And so he and I have already had conversations as far as that goes. Remaining in bonds. So one question that I had gotten from some of our public during our town halls was what happened to our bond money and some of the state money. And so we still have some bond money and capital projects, and we still have some state match money. Those are tied to the purposes of those bonds. And so it's essentially some of we were able to make some savings in some of those projects, I'll say. And so we have 2.5 remaining for bonds. And then as far as the state match, 2.8. Those are locked to the purposes of those bonds. We're, again, this is something related to Corey. I've had discussions with him. We're going to have to probably do a bond hearing to open those up. We're going to review the terminology that was used in those bonds, but some of the recommendation is still to do a bond hearing. And so we'll probably look to try and find a good time to have a hearing to, part of it is we need to work with Concertus, figure out our long-term facility plan, and we can potentially use some of the bond and state dollars to go along with those plans. And so we need to formulate a plan on how to use those dollars and then come to a hearing and present that. Can't just say, okay, we have this, let's put it as undesignated use. We should have a plan for these, for those funds.
So how much of that? So is it just the 16.6 minus the 4?
Sure. So bond would be 2.5. So 2.5 plus 2.8, $5.3 million is what we're going to have a hearing and figure out a plan for. 4.9 right now is undesignated. 5.3, we need to have a hearing. And then we have tech levy right now, between our subscription side and our tech side, we still have about $1.5 million. And as far as this fund balance, and then if you're doing the math and you're adding them up, this is not going to add up. But the safety and security, we have about $855,000 that we can use. Okay, so Corey mentioned this difference between a bond and a levy is with a bond, the district will receive all the money up front, right? And then we can complete the projects. With a levy, you receive the money periodically through the life of that levy. And so with the safety and security, what we did is we did a levy, and so we're still collecting on that levy, but we also did a non-voted debt. We essentially took out a loan for the amount of the levy, right? To treat it like a bond, okay? And so we still have principal and interest payments that are owed for that. And so As we collect levy dollars and what is still owed for principal, those are committed. What we have available in safety and security is about $855,000.
And so because it is complex, Travis will include this as we move forward as kind of, and then make those decisions.
Okay, this makes sense. So the 5.3 million we need to do a hearing on. And if all of our bonds said land, but I like it to be, if we could do it, I think legally and buy land with it without doing the hearing. But I still like the idea of doing the hearing better, or transparency. Okay. Those are good numbers. I didn't know that.
Yeah. So that's all I wanted to present. Obviously still open for question.
Anything else? All right, when do we do, so the hearing would be built in as part of the facilities process then when we need it?
I think that's the best. I think let's find out what we're able to determine with the public. We've got a public committee working with Concertus. And so I think it would be best to still continue to hold these in capital projects.
Agree.
And wait for the results of our facilities plan. And then we can decide what the best use of I would say, the undesignated plus this bond. So, I mean, we've got almost $10 million kind of waiting for our long-term facility plan.
Sounds good. My math came to 10.2, but okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks.
Good job, Travis.
We are to policy number 3417, catheterization. The only question that I saw, Katrina probably sent it to you, was on the red part.
Yes. And I emailed her back, but the question was, because in the policy, it talks about people being able to opt out.
Right.
And so all of our nurses are registered nurses. Those nurses would then train a paraprofessional to do the catheterization. That was a person that could opt out. If it's not in their job description when they were hired and they're just asked if they would do it, if they volunteer to do it, or they agree to do it, then they're trained to do it. But they can't, if we're asked to do it and they don't feel comfortable doing it, they can opt out by doing that form. That's the only people that can opt out. The nurses don't opt out.
Okay.
And that was her question.
I think so too.
Yeah.
Any other questions on this?
I did have one question, and it's just a small question, but towards the bottom there, it's also in the red. It says the district may discontinue service for a student without being liable, so long as the affected parents and guardians are given advanced oral/written notice.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think we'd be better off with just written notice?
Sure, I could take out oral for sure.
Just to cover ourselves.
Absolutely. That makes sense.
Anything else on these?
This is just kind of a subjective comment, but the third bullet point, I just think that entire thing is a little convoluted and like a little bit of a run-on way of saying that. Could
The
be
third bullet point, or number 3?
Number 3, sorry.
Okay. What did you say about it?
I just think it's a little convoluted. It could be like expressed what you're trying to say a little bit more.
Maybe you just cut it in half.
Yeah, into like 2 sentences.
Easier to read.
Yes.
I was just looking at the English major sitting over there.
We'll review
They're
it.
right.
Well, it's just Waz's words.
Yeah. Anything else on this one?
I didn't write it.
They were educated by the Richard School.
No, it's probably an attorney from WASDA.
Probably.
I was going to say, it sounds like legalese.
Yeah, it's funny. I just read that because you made that comment, and it doesn't even end. The sentence actually goes all the way into number 4. But
I think that whole format, because it's like the whole thing basically, all 1, 2, 3, and 4. It's like one sentence, kind of.
Okay, well, we'll have Mr. Gosney clean it up.
Is there a motion for first reading for policy number 3417? I am screwing up. I'm supposed to ask for public input on each one of those.
On the catheterization policy, does anyone have anything you want to say about this?
Sure.
I'll move first reading.
James, thanks. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Moved and seconded.
Yes.
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 All right, passes. Thanks.
Thank you.
I am really bad at this now. Board discussion, old business. Is there anything that we need to talk about in this category? I don't have anything. Nope. Okay. We're to consent agenda. We have an amended personnel action. Is there a motion for consent agenda? Does anyone want anything pulled?
I'll move the consent agenda.
I'll second.
All right.
Yes.
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 Consent agenda passes. Future agenda items, I think, or yes, are there any future agenda items that we need to add that we don't already have added? And do the next two board meetings look okay? And I haven't looked at these at all.
We did have mentioned that if we do get more information on the technology stuff, that we might add that here coming up in the future.
Somewhere in April.
Yeah, I don't, if April doesn't work, then May or whatever. But
Oh, it's in there on April 28th.
oh, is it?
Yeah.
All right.
Technology use.
Perfect.
There you go.
Somebody was thinking ahead.
We should have the bond refunding on probably the April 28th. It might be there and I might just not be seeing it.
Well, now that we've said we wanted to move forward, it can go in there.
Yeah.
Right.
So that'd be the 28th, right? That works for y'all.
Yep, we're already gonna work with our bond counsel or our legal team to draft that resolution, and we'll present it at that meeting.
All right. Then we can approve sometime in May because June 3rd is the Moody's.
Yep.
We would, from my understanding, we can approve a resolution. It does not mean that we need to act on it.
Right. But you'd need to have it approved before the June 3rd because that's where we incur costs.
Correct. Yes.
That's what I heard as well.
All right. Anything else for future agenda items? Anything else for the good of the order? All right. We're adjourned. Thank you all.